I'm going to briefly pause the service today to just talk about an idea that I saw in the Torah this week that I hadn't seen before. And that is that Moses asks God to see God, which is a highly unusual request in the canon of Jewish literature. Right? This is not something that most have asked, and show me your presence. So Moses is known as the most humble man, right? Ish anava, the most humble person who ever walked the earth. And there seems to be a moment where he says to God, right, I am worth this, right? Give me this special privilege. A lot is going on that is hard to deal with the Jewish people. This I'm asking you right now, right before I go back down and deal with them again, show me your face. And God says to Moses, right, I will make my goodness pass before you. Ani a'avir kol tuvi al panecha, v'karati v'shem Adonai al panecha, v'chanoti asher achon, v'richamti et asher achem. And God says, you cannot see my face, for you will die. God says, stand there, right, in the crevice between the rocks, and I will pass before you, and you will see my back, but my face you will not see. The Talmud comes along and tells us, well, what did Moses see? Right? I don't know how many of us have an idea. What did Moses see when God passes by? Because this is a story that many of us learned in religious school growing up. We read it multiple times during the year, right? That God passed before Moses and Moses saw God's back. Here we have in the Talmud, in Brachot, that Amar Rabbi Chana bar Bizna, Shar'elo HaKadosh Baruch Hu, that God showed Moses Kesher Shel Tefillin, the knot of his tefillin. So if everybody understands what Moses saw, right? According to the Talmud, right? God's back passes before Moses, and the thing that Moses sees is the tiny knot in the back of his head from where the two straps come, that's often in the shape of a dalet. And I would think, right, Rashi says Kesher Shel Tefillin without the larger, so Rashi just takes it directly out of the Talmud. So this gets passed down from generation to generation. This is what Moses saw. Moses saw tefillin, which is why in the Talmud, if you ask, can tefillin be a different color? Can tefillin be this? Can tefillin be that? No. Tefillin is exactly the way that Moses saw God wearing it. That's why we wear it that way. Don't ask again, is the answer for the rabbis, right? So, the question is that satisfying for Moses? I mean, we think it's amazing in the Talmud that Moses got to see something. But you have to remember, Jacob woke up from his dream, and he said, Achen yesh Adonai b'makom hazeh v'anachi lo yadati, ma norah hamakom hazeh. How awesome is this place? Moses doesn't stand there and see the leather knot and say, that's exactly what I wanted. Thank you very much. And depending on how we read this, God is either showing Moses a lot or God is showing Moses the bare minimum. Moses gets to see something that God is wearing, not even God's back. And it made me think that if you combine that idea with Kohelet about futility, even Moses sought to see God's face and was essentially denied. And it makes me think that perhaps after this entire season of repentance, after all of the tshuva, all of the hours in synagogue, the question the Torah raises today is how much of ourselves do we show each other? How many people in the world actually know who you are? And I think if we think about it in a sincere way, the answer is very few. The answer is very few. One of my favorite songs, actually my most favorite song, if you're ever in a trivia and the question is what is Rabbi Nolan Lebovitz's favorite song, right? You can answer with certainty Piano Man by Billy Joel. And the entire song is about people sitting at this bar and everybody has the aspiration to do something else that's not who they are. And the only person in the world who knows is the piano man, because he sits there with them each and every day. Today I read the Parsha for the first time and thought to myself, it's futile for us to go through the high holidays, to go through this entire season with any kind of expectation that at the end of it, we'll know God better. But perhaps the goal is to go through the season and know ourselves a little better. Open up ourselves to reveal a little bit more to our neighbor, a little bit more. So they just don't see the dot on the back of our head. They might see a little more glimpse into our soul. Because if not, then we end up being John at the bar who wants to be a movie star, right? We end up being the waitress who wants to practice politics, all of these other people, these characters in the bar. We go through this season wanting something great, all of us, expressing the most powerful liturgy that we have. And at the end, the question is for all of us, in a very Kohelet sense, in the sense of Ecclesiastes, what do we make of the tiny little dot of improvement or change that we can muster in these 2.5 months that's now closing on Tuesday night? So some of us can take that Daled and turn it into an entire Torah. Say the Daled is the foundation for everything. According to Kabbalah, right? We cut it down, it's the Yud. We add a line, it's the Hey. Everything rests on the Daled. Everything about divine nature can be sought out of the Yud, the Daled, the Hey. It's a great idea. But for some of us, we look at that and we say, hours and hours and hours in synagogue, and that's it? That's all I got? The Torah is coming along today and saying, don't think to yourself that's all you got. This is all that Moses got. All that Moses got was not only God's back, the Talmud tells us, even less than God's back, the back of something that God was wearing that ends up being one of our most sanctified objects that we use almost each and every day. And so I hope we leave services today not with the message that it's futile or that life is futile, but rather we leave services today with the message that to prevent futility, we have to let people in. We have to reveal ourselves to others. Not to everybody. That's not what Moses asks. Moses doesn't say reveal yourself to the entire world, and that would be an absurdity. But even revealing yourself to one person in your entirety is a challenge. I hope we're up for that challenge in the coming year. Shabbat Shalom, everybody.
Adon Olam asher malach b'terem kol yitzir nivrah leit nasa b'cheptzo kol Hazai melech shemo nikra ve'acharei kichlot hakol levado yimloch nora ve'hu haya Behu yeh שוכב לי בצרה, והוא ניסי ומנוס לי, לנהת כוסי ביום אקרא. בידו הפקיד רוחי, והייתי שם מהעירה, בעיר רוחי יביאתי, אדוני לי ולא יירא. איי אדוני Shabbat shalom, Shabbat shalom, Shabbat shalom, Shabbat shalom.
Please join me in the sukkah.